Diphenhydramine, also known as Benadryl, is an over-the-counter allergy medicine that can produce delirium effects when taken in doses far above recommended. Despite being widely available, it is not used recreationally often because most consider its effects to be unpleasant. If you look online for trip reports, the vast majority of them will describe extremely negative experiences. Despite this, some people report enjoying its effects. Others have reported developing an addiction. The purpose of this experiment was to find out what draws people to use DPH and why some people continue to use it even after experiencing its largely negative effects. The mental effects of DPH include sedation, euphoria, anxiety, hallucinations, confusion, and delirium. Users often report seeing spiders or insects. One hallucination that has become the subject of internet memes is the Hatman. The Hatman is a shadow person wearing a hat and often seen with red eyes. Whether this hallucination is the result of expectation is another hypothesis I want to test. Traditional psychedelics work by amplifying sensory stimuli. Unlike traditional psychedelics, DPH can cause delirium. Delirium is characterized by confusion and often involves hallucinations that are indistinguishable from reality. Because of this, delirium can result in self-injury or death. The hallucinations also tend to be fear-inducing, which adds to the risk. The physical effects of taking high doses of DPH include dry mouth, dizziness, flushing, difficulty focusing eyes, nausea, and erectile dysfunction. It's worth noting that some users take advantage of the erectile dysfunction. The negative physical effects of DPH are not limited to this list. More serious complications can occur. DPH use can be life-threatening. A 2016 study found that 3.2% of all overdose deaths in the U.S. involved DPH. Irregular heartbeats and cardiac arrest are major complications. Treatment is mostly supportive, as there is no known antidote. Activated charcoal can be used if the patient consumed the drug less than 1 hour prior. In most jurisdictions, DPH can be bought without a prescription or even an ID. This makes it a tempting option for those who cannot access more popular drugs. This may be why DPH is often used by adolescents. Recreational use of DPH by adolescents has been documented for decades. This paper from 1997 refers to it as an old problem. I posted a survey on the DPH subreddit asking users to share their experiences with me. I asked for their age when they started using DPH, why they initially tried it, their dosages, harm reduction strategies, mental health, the effects, and their opinions of DPH and how it affected them. I received 55 responses. Some answers were left blank, so not all questions received 55 answers. The median age of when they first started using Benadryl was 16 years old, with a standard deviation of 2.8 years. It also appears the likelihood of trying DPH drops off sharply after 18, with only 4 out of 55, or 7% of users having first tried DPH after age 18. This supports the hypothesis that DPH is mostly used by adolescents. 200 to 300 milligrams seems to be the most popular dosage range. Most people don't go above 500 milligrams. I asked users to rate DPH on a scale of 1 to 10. The average was about 4, which indicates that people generally find its effects unpleasant. I asked people to rate their mental health prior to using DPH. For the most part, it was poor. This may indicate that users are drawn to DPH as a way to numb emotional pain. Depression can also correlate with risk-taking, which may be another reason for this data. 27.3% of respondents said they took DPH as a way of reducing emotional pain. 41.8% took DPH because they thought it would be an enjoyable experience. 45.5% took DPH knowing it would be scary, but they wanted to do it anyway. 21.8% of respondents took high doses because they enjoyed the effects they got from a normal dose. 5.5% tripped accidentally. 7.2% did so for self-harm. Dry mouth was the most common physical effect, followed by dizziness and nausea. Tachycardia, or elevated heart rate, was also common, which aligns with the case reports of DPH users experiencing heart complications. One user reported having a seizure, which can also be life-threatening. This may be a good time for me to reiterate that taking high doses of DPH is dangerous, and I strongly advise against it. The most common effect was sedation, which is prevalent even at non-recreational doses. The second most common effect was temporary memory loss. About 43.6% of users report permanently losing memories from during the trip, compared to 14.5% who lost memories from before the trip. Hallucinations indistinguishable from reality were the third most common effect. While these can be terrifying and dangerous, some people intentionally seek this kind of experience. Delusion was also common. Euphoria and dysphoria were reported at the same rate, indicating that DPH can cause both. Spiritual experience occurred in 10.9% of respondents, which may be a reason why some return to the drug. Increased sexual pleasure occurred in 27.3% of respondents, which aligns with some user experiences. Insects and spiders were the most common hallucination. Shadow people and other people were also common. Seeing the Hatman was relatively uncommon, especially when compared to seeing other humanoids. This suggests that people see the Hatman only when they expect to see him. In the survey, I asked users questions about if they can control their dosage, if they have cravings, if they have to take more to get similar effects, and if they are unable to reduce their dosage. I then averaged them together to get an addiction score. The average addiction score was about 2 out of 5, indicating that DPH is moderately addictive. I wanted to find out if age was inversely correlated with addiction. Addiction appears inversely correlated with age, but the p-value is just shy of the 0.05 threshold. The R-squared was 0.05, meaning 5% of the variation in addiction could be attributed to the age they first took DPH. This correlation was just barely non-significant. Maybe with more data, the correlation will pass the threshold. I thought that people who sought out fearful experiences would be more likely to become addicted. This turned out to not be true, however. I also wanted to see if taking DPH for fun makes it more addictive. I did not find a statistically significant correlation. I thought people who took DPH to reduce emotional pain would be more likely to develop addiction. While the correlation was more significant than other tests, it still did not pass the threshold. DPH is more dangerous than traditional hallucinogens, and most people who take it don't enjoy the effects. Being young and having poor mental health correlate with DPH abuse. It's likely that younger users are more likely to develop addictions to DPH than older users. Insect and humanoid hallucinations are common, but the Hatman is a product of expectation rather than a universal experience. A minority of users derive enjoyable effects from DPH, such as euphoria, sexual pleasure, and spiritual experiences. These don't outweigh the dangers, in my opinion. As always, an anonymous survey is not an ideal research method, so more research is needed to confirm my findings. Thanks for watching. I'm running out of ideas for obscure drugs to do surveys for, so if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments.